Hey everyone, it's Nigel here, and before we get into this week's episode, I have some quick updates to close out for 2024. We're fast approaching the end of another season of Story X Story, and that means some special episodes are coming. We've got one last interview episode for 199, and then episode 200 of the podcast, which will be our last deep dive of 2024, and then our regular special episodes. So if you've been listening to us for a while, you'll know that we end the year with our best of episode that brings you highlights, bloopers, and behind the scenes stuff that don't make it into the episodes into a bumper mix for you to enjoy. And then we have our wrapped episode where Tazzy and I talk about our favorite stories of the year just gone. So you've got a few things to look forward to before our recording break over January, and then the start of season 7 of Story X Story in February. So for this week, we have a rewind episode of a Casual Conversations with Comic Creators live stream that I did earlier this week with Dutch comic artist Renee Rienties. So you can enjoy that, and we look forward to talking with you again real soon. And hello everyone joining us live, joining us later, listening later. Welcome everyone to episode 31 of Casual Conversations with Comic Creators. This is the My Matter show where each month I speak to a different comic creator about their journey, about what goes into the craft of making comics, and pretty much anything else that comes up on the live stream. So the whole idea is to showcase the human being behind the art form as we discover each person's journey. And I'm the co-founder of My Matter. My name's Nigel. And today I am talking with Renee Rienties, who I always feel I mess up your last name. And I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name because you do it properly.
In English, I don't do it properly either.
Oh.
It's a weird name to pronounce in English. Rienties is the English form.
Rienties.
Dutch way, it's Rienties.
Okay, I'm gonna one day I'm gonna get that right because every time I say it, I'm like, I know I've just like put an English spin on that, and I apologize.
That is absolutely okay. It's a weird last name.
All right, we'll work on that. We'll work on that. But how are you doing? How's it going?
Pretty good. It's it's okay. Done with work, at least most of the work for this year. Wrapping it up, and very excited for Christmas.
Yeah, you got a whole Christmas setup. I feel very underprepared for this season. I'm not prepared for this at all. But cool. All right, Renee's bringing the festivities for this live stream because it is almost Christmas. It's weird. It always feels weird that it's finally December. It feels like it comes too soon. How do you feel about the end of the year?
It comes too soon and way too fast. It's like, oh my god, so many things still to wrap up. So little time.
As long as I'm not the only one, that is fine.
Oh,
That is fine. Cool.
definitely.
All right. So for what I should say is who you are. You are a comic creator, illustrator. You do animation as well, which I wanted to. You've been involved in animated projects.
Yes, correct. I do actually, a lot of things. Related to arts. Comics is my main passion and my main work, but sometimes animation. I do directing.
Mm.
Let's say project management, event coordination, stuff like that. Yeah.
That is a lot. I also do some of all of that. So and it's always a lot. And you are from the Netherlands, so it's an international Casual Conversations with Comic Creators. Have I forgotten anything else you do? Anything
No,
else
not
on the
that I know.
list? Okay,
I think that it's a list.
cool.
I sometimes forget myself what I do.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I had that earlier today. It's like just talking to someone. He's like, someone I not met before, and he's like, "What do you do?" And it's like, ah, "What do I do?" So I went through a list of things, and I actually forgot to say podcast. The irony, but yeah. So both do a lot. I wanted to, like I said before, and I said a few times on the show, this has basically become the show where I catch up with people I haven't seen in a while. Although we did see each other for Malta Comic Con just a few weeks ago. So we're going to talk about that. and then I'd be interested to hear like what you're working on and how you do it as well. But let's start with Malta, because so for those that don't know, I mean, Malta is a country. If you didn't know that, there you go. So Malta is a country, and they have their comic convention every year, and they've been doing it for like, is it 14 years, something like
Yeah,
that,
something like that.
which is quite impressive. And so that was November something, early first weekend in November.
Ninth, I think,
Ninth,
but I could be
or the
wrong.
next weekend, somewhere, somewhere around. Yeah, because I left on the 8th and it was ninth and 10th. Cool. All right. Yeah, how did you find it? And what would be interesting to know, because I think we met before the pandemic in
Yeah.
Malta,
I
maybe?
think 2019 was when we met, like
Last
just before the pandemic.
pandemic. Okay. So you've also been going for a while. Why do you go to the Malta Comic Con?
Malta Comic Con. Yeah, why do I go? It's one of the most fun conventions I've been to so far. So this is one of the few I always try to make time for. So this time Malta Comic Con was very close to my deadline for my comic I had to finish. No, yeah, in November. So, but I was pretty happy to still like make time to go.
Hmm.
Seeing all co-workers from different countries that will come to Malta is very nice. It feels like a community, people very passionate about art and comics and the geek industry. It's yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that, because I think for me, we don't do a lot of conventions. We do a good amount of conventions. There's definitely more we could be at, but for something like the larger conventions, it feels a bit more commercial, which is is what it is, and that is also needed, because you do need
Money.
to. Yeah, of course. But what's always interesting about Malta is that I find it's a chance to not think about that so much and think more about, like you say, the community. And it's almost like a reminder of like why you're doing the thing that you're doing. And yeah, you need that sometimes as well. So it's kind of like a balance. It's also the closest thing to a holiday that I've got this year. So there's also that. But then you were saying just before that, you don't, like, since the pandemic, you don't do a lot of events like internationally or at home. Like, what's the thinking behind that? Is that something that you've not had to, or you've not wanted to?
I feel like right after the pandemic, I think everyone felt the same way. It felt a bit odd to do conventions again. And after that, I felt like, at least in the Netherlands, conventions have changed over the years. It became more commercialized. I only see a lot of fan art. For example, to compare Dutch Comic Con in the Netherlands, used to be around 150, 200 euros for a table to sell your work at. And it was like way in the beginning. But the past few years, I think right after the pandemic, it became like 400 euros for a table.
Oh wow.
And that's almost San Diego Comic Con prices if I have to, yeah, compare. So for me, it's not worth going for, because if I have to pay 400 euros to get a
Mm,
table, my main goal would be to break even,
even, yeah.
and if possible, a little bit of profit.
Mm,
And then the focus will be just on making money. And for me, going to conventions is to showcase my work, bring it out there, and trying to network, meeting other artists and other people's work. I'm so sorry, by the way. I'm very, very what to say? I have a cold.
yeah. that's
So if
that's
I
fine.
if I'm trying to catch my breath a bit, it's because I cannot breathe through my nose. So yeah, yeah, that's the main reason for me to go to conventions, and I miss that a lot in the Netherlands, and I think a lot of conventions over in other countries as well, and time, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, because with Malta and conventions like it, because so I've got some photos I'll put up on the stream as well. So
Oh
the
boy.
idea is like you get the convention, but then you also get the experience outside of the convention. So everyone like stays in the same hotel. You do the 2 days of the convention. You get to meet people outside of that, and then on the Monday you go for like the tour. Although you didn't go because you had to
I
leave.
had my driving class exam, like my exam for
Ah,
my driving license, so I had to
wow.
be there.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, because I remember I saw you like a quick goodbye, and it's like, he's not coming on the coach. But yeah, so you get taken around, and it's just a good experience. So as well as experiencing like another country's comic culture, you also get to experience another country's culture, just like culture at full stop. So I always appreciate that. And I think if you, especially if you're someone who is a good excuse to like get out and out of the country and see somewhere else. So definitely, although it did rain a lot.
Yeah, I think it's the first time we had rain with
Yeah,
Malta.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
years before, it was always quite sunny and hot. Like you could swim in the sea.
I packed shorts just for that.
Yeah.
But that's fine. It didn't happen. Didn't quite happen this year. I was talking to some of the organizers, and they were like, "Yeah, no, we this is the most rain of the whole year that we've seen, and we don't know what to do." So yeah, so that was Malta, and then we've got like there are other international comic festivals around. So, like you say, you don't go to many, but I know another one that you do go to is the Angoulême
Oh
comic
yes.
festival. Do you want to let us know like what is that and yeah, why you go to that one, how it's different than something like Malta?
It is like to compare it to other conventions. It's not just a convention. It's like a festival that takes over the whole city. So
Mm.
Angoulême is a place in France, a very small city. It's very old. It's very beautiful. A bit on the hill, and every year during January, it's they have the festival Angoulême, BD Angoulême. I think you can find it on Google that way. And it's like a global festival. They bring artists from all over the world, from Asia, America, European artists. They come there to sign for interviews, exhibitions. I think the last few years they had, let's see, I think 2 years ago I missed that one, unfortunately.
Mm.
They had Junji Ito and Attack on Titan exhibitions.
Yes, I went to that one. That was the first one that I went to.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
I've
so
only been
jealous.
twice, but yeah.
So yeah, I feel comics takes over the city, and everyone there is very passionate about comics, and it's very good for networking. I haven't ever tried a table there. I think, yeah, most comics are French if you sell them. Though I hear from some American artists that came with their work and English artists as well that does well as well.
Hmm.
But French would maybe do better. I'm not sure. But I would recommend to go there just to go around, see the festival, network, and it's also free for creators. So if you want to go to Angoulême, the hardest part is to get a place to stay. We are
Yeah.
staying outside of Angoulême and going up and down each day, but it's absolutely worth it, especially if you can share a place with friends or other artists as well. That's what I do.
So I've been twice, and I actually stayed in Bordeaux, and then took a train because Bordeaux's a nice place as well. Actually, it's quite a nice scene, and then travel down, and then just go around as much as I can. What's interesting, and this is the cool thing about seeing comics from other countries' perspective. You see how people like treat it. And the thing that struck me about Angoulême and French comic culture is like they really treat it as art. And I think if you haven't been, it's like it's just completely different to how, let's say, so in London we have like the London Comic Con,
Yeah.
which is our biggest convention. Happens twice a year, and it's great. It's great for what it is, and we showcase some stuff there, and we go every year pretty much. It was a bit rocky over the pandemic, but every year for a long while. But when I went to Angoulême, it was like I'd see different types of people and I'd see like different ages. So you see some really young people, but also really old people. And I think the first time I took notice of it, I remember seeing like an old couple or an older couple, because I'm kind of old now, but an older couple. And I was looking around and I was like, where's their kid? I was thinking like, oh, they must be here with a child. But they were just there. They were just there, like enjoying the art. And I don't think we have that in the UK. I don't know how it is in the Netherlands, where people treat like comics as not just something for kids, but as an art form itself.
In all honesty, I think in the Netherlands, comics is really dying.
Mm,
People don't, yeah, it's not alive here.
wow.
So
Why do you think that is?
I have no, I don't know, because if you compare to Belgium, for example, it's like we speak the same language, but in Belgium, it lives so much more. It's much more respected. It's seen as a job. I don't know. I have no
Mm.
idea. Sorry.
No, it's a curious one because it's a shame because like comics has so much to offer as a medium, but then for some reason people just don't see it as like a real way to tell stories. and that's why that just Angoulême is such a great experience and great place to be in. And in our chat, Dating for Geeks says technically they stay in Angoulême as well, just outside of the city centre at a lovely farmhouse. Okay, so it's a 45-minute walk to get up a hill to get to the festival. That's a good walk. That's it's not walking. Okay, I'm gonna have to consider that. Farmhouse sounds nice as well.
Hi, Kenny.
So I'm actually looking at my travel situation for next year as well. So I haven't booked anywhere just yet, but I need to do
Oh,
that.
I would be fast if I were you,
Yeah,
because they
yeah.
already announced opened the tickets.
Yes, I do need to get on that. All right, that's homework for me. And because it's free,
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm gonna get
Yes,
on
so
that.
for every creator, writer, artist, please apply for a professional badge, because it's free for creators. You can go to any exhibition, any, how you call that, like places where you can enter. Wow, that's so vague. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, they've got because like you say, it takes over the whole town. So there's different
Yeah.
like pockets where you can go, and different spaces, different shops, or like
Yeah, it's like you have the small press or at least the smaller publishers
yeah,
tent. So it's and a tent. It's you think of a small tent, but this is like
it's massive.
very
Yeah,
long. I think it takes like at least 30 minutes to walk through from one side to the other if you want to see everything a bit, and that's if you walk fast. So regular people, visitors that buy a ticket, they stand in line. But as a professional, you can just skip most of the lines and
yes,
enter through the
yeah,
back.
cool. You just like wave your pass out, and then yeah, that's as it should be.
Because you are as a creator are important.
Yeah, VIP pass. So yeah, so okay, I'm gonna get on that. So yeah, Angoulême as well, and then you also are involved in the Big Draw, which is another high-profile international. But this one, you're on the organizing team, or yeah. So tell me about that, because I've never been. This is one I've not been to, but I know you've spoken about it. I've seen the website. What do you do within that, and what is that event?
Let's see where to start. Yeah, so the Big Draw Netherlands, because the Big Draw is an international festival which is organized all over the world by different countries, and a lot of countries can take it upon themselves to create a Big Draw in their country. I'm not sure how the whole. Actually, it originated in London. So
Okay.
the head, how you say that, the where it all started is in England,
Yeah, yeah,
in
do
London.
cool.
So
I did not know
and
that.
the
I feel I
Netherlands,
should have known that.
that's okay. So the Netherlands, I think we're now 11th year. They
Mm.
organized it in the Netherlands. Anita Waldman is like the head organizer in the Netherlands for doing the Big Draw, and I'm involved since 2019 for like the event coordination, but was like part of the Big Draw, like taking part in workshops or art drawings on the windows since 2016 when I was a student and much younger than I'm now.
Ah,
So yeah, what to say about that? Sorry, my head is full of
yeah.
snot. So it's
Is it is it similar to Angoulême in that it's more of a festival than a
yes,
convention?
definitely. It's not as it is absolutely very different because Angoulême is focused on comics.
Sure.
The Big Draw is focused on like all art, so from graffiti to fine art. It's very broad, and the purpose of the Big Draw is to bring art to the people. So a lot of artists stay inside, they draw, but don't go out much to
That is the
produce it
stereotype.
outside to the
It's
normal people.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Dark
no!
room, curtains closed.
So yeah, in 2019, they asked me to join for the comic department, so manga and anime and comics, because they want to attract more of the youth. I say I'm too much. I'm so I apologize. Since 2019, and I think for 4 years now, we also have, yeah, of course, because the pandemic, an artist alley as well. So Angoulême and Malta Comic Con are actually two inspirations for doing the artist alley at the Big Draw. So it's not focused on profit.
Uh,
A table for artists is just like around 25 euros for the table and the rent, because yeah, it costs a lot of money to organize that, and we want to make it as accessible as possible to artists to try and go out and try their first convention, or if you're experienced artists, also to join and show your work, network, having an artist party afterwards.
Mm.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know it was so cheap. We'll have to add that to the list of.
Yeah, because money is not the focus part on the big draw. We want to make art accessible for people, and like 400 euros for a table is crazy.
It's. I think it's actually no. I think it's about the same in UK. Might be a bit more for certain tables, but yeah, it is definitely a lot. So then, because I want to talk about your work specifically, and but also just this idea of being an artist, because there's almost that like stereotype of the starving artist, the like struggling artist, and I definitely feel I feel that. But then, how do you go about making a living for with your art? Because you are an artist, like you're a professional artist, you do different things. How did you find that transition? Were you always like an artist, or were you doing something else and you left? Like, how did you make that transition to where you are now?
Boy, starting out, like I graduated in 2016 from my school, and I did like study multimedia because art school was they don't really do things with comics much here, and to keep on studying, it was way too expensive in the Netherlands. So I was like, I'm just gonna start out on my own. I will see. Like, I don't need someone to teach me how to draw. I can follow
Okay.
tutorials and do it myself. So just by doing actually. So I started out with my first tiny small press comic, which I don't have here anymore, actually. Maybe that's a good thing. It's very old. So I wanted to be a comic artist since I was little. So I was like, then I just have to make comics. And then I've heard about the Comic Con and comic festivals. And then back then it was still affordable to go. I shared a table with a friend of mine and showed my work and sold my stuff and see where it brought me. Also, I worked full time besides that. So
Mm,
having a other job next to art. I think I was working for a travel company doing like administration work,
okay.
very boring email replying and phone calls. Yeah, that was quite tough. So I worked 9 to 5, and after that, when I got home, I ate and I started drawing from 7 to 11, around
Mm,
something like that. And at some point, I noticed like I started to earn more with art than my part-time jobs,
mm.
and I tried to make the risk to just, do it,
Just jump
and
over.
we'll see
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
goes. Yeah. But it took a lot of years to invest in making my own comics. So I was like, if I don't have my own employee, I will just draw my own comics and sell them.
Mm,
I think that's the way how you do it as well, like self-publishing or
yeah.
crowdfundings, and hopefully it will stick somewhere. And I got lucky after I think 7 years or so, 8 years.
Yeah, but that's it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it
It
does.
takes a lot of time. I realized this year it had been 10 years since we did Samurai Chef, which is the first comic that I ever did. So now I'm thinking of how we do like an anniversary edition and things like that. But
Oh, that's really
uh,
cool.
yeah, I wish I'd known and planned it like earlier, but so it'll be late. But then yeah, you look back and you think like how long it takes, and because so we were talking just before we went live, and I was saying like we work a lot with like young people and a lot of like young artists, and I was thinking like how do you cross over? Because I feel a lot of people feel like when you say 7 8 years, that feels like a long time. If you tell
It
someone
is.
like it, yeah, it is, and I imagine in that journey, it's been a lot of like challenges and even points where you feel like, is this working? I don't know if you've had that moment, like is
Oh,
this
yeah,
working? Yeah. So it's like
yearly. I have
yeah,
that.
yeah. Like last week, I had that. Yeah. How do you balance that? How do you know you're making progress towards a thing that you want to do, like make art while still doing the art, because it's different, can be different, like mental space.
That is very true. Oh, good question.
Yeah. It's like, did you find yourself, because you talked about your like you were doing your own comic, were you doing commissions? Were you working like were you doing freelance art for other organizations? Because I know you've done a lot of that.
Yeah, so at the beginning, I did a lot of different work. When whoever paid me, I give
Yeah,
me the
yeah,
job, and I was like,
yeah.
okay, what do you want? Just during that, putting your work out there, just putting it on Instagram, not for the likes, just to build your portfolio. Because I
Mm,
see a lot of youngsters as well being caring a lot about the likes they get or comments. And I'm always like, don't care about that. Just post it, build your online portfolio, and at some point your work will be noticed by someone.
Mm.
Having your own website helped for me a lot. So I got some jobs from there. A lot of odd jobs for the first few years. At some point, I got a big job for Ziggo, like the animation work I did there for the Formula One. They actually found me through my website and Google. Yeah, so I did like that animation, which is I don't know. Once I finish the job and I look back at my work, I hate it. So let's
Yeah,
not go there.
yeah. That's why I don't read our comics once it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I feel that. So after that animation, I got contacted by the publisher of the Formula One commenter in the Netherlands. He wrote a children book, Snelle Sam. I think I've got some here as well.
Oh,
There we go. It's already quite old work. There we go.
cool.
And yeah, they looked for an artist to draw race cars. I don't watch Formula One. I don't like race cars, but
Okay.
sure. And it's quite fun to do actually things you don't like because you can dive into different subjects and to make it your own. Yeah, and after like by posting your work online and what you do, at some point people take more notice of your work, and it's also partially luck. So the right people need to see your work, and the right work needs to be available. So yeah, that I think.
Yeah.
I hope I'm explaining this okay.
No, no, it makes sense. It's just that, like, because I've done a lot of interviews, and often people will say luck, and I don't know if I believe in luck, because the same people that say they were lucky are the same people that then go, "Oh yeah, I did this, so I went to this event and I kept putting out my work," and it's like it's all that stuff that gets you
Mm.
the opportunity and then makes you prepared. But yeah, it's just something I've been thinking about, because like even for us, we're working on a comic at the moment, and the last one was like in the middle of the pandemic. So I did a story about a pandemic in the pandemic, but I want to do more comic work, and I want to get our comic work out more than it is at the moment, because we kind of, no, I wouldn't say like lost focus, but just because of the pandemic, we went in a direction of like we work around games and work a lot with young people, and it takes up a lot of like brain space.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, so I'm thinking about how we can get our comics out more. Like for example, we do physical comics. I don't even have. You know what? I need to be more prepared. I need to bring my own comic. But we do physical comics. But we don't do like virtual, like digital comics, and that's something I'm looking into. And then I'm personally terrible with social media, but we have people on our team that I'm working on building up to do more of the social media. So like, and then you talked about that website as well. So I'm kind of looking at all those areas, even for us, even though we've been doing it for a long time, of like how we can be better seen, I guess. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, like I also think time is changing. So back then I would say like webcomics were not that big as they are now.
there you go.
Hey, there they are.
The very first comic is the very first comic that we did. Sorry.
But have you guys like for as format for online, are you guys going to do webcomic style like webtoons, like the
Hmm.
long thingies with people reading on their phones?
Possibly, or because someone told me we can turn like the comics we've got in format, which is kind of easy. But then I think, I don't know if do you do any of this on social media where people will do like a 4-panel comic, and you can slide within the panel, so to do like one, like if you're on Instagram, like the first slide is the first panel, you slide over the
Ah,
second
yeah.
panel. Yeah, I was thinking of like something like that, and doing that using our characters, like short stuff to get people to know the characters. I haven't quite mapped it out yet, but I'm thinking like how we can use social media. Do you use social media a lot?
No, just sometimes post something. I forget it most of the times because it takes a lot of brain space. Like what to write. Here's an art piece.
Yeah.
Send. Post. I like stories much better because you can do like a snapshot and it's like gone after 4 hours.
Fair point. Yeah. Yeah.
I should be more active online.
Well, I mean, you do what works for you, right? It's like what fits for your schedule. So yeah, I just need to work that out. But I mean, like speaking of your work, tell us about your work. Like, I know, oh no, because we are on video. Usually, I ask this for the podcast and people can't see. But how would you describe your work, your art style? And let's start there. How would you describe your art style?
I would say kind of like A jack of all trades, maybe, because it really depends on what I feel like drawing. My main inspiration for my work is manga and anime, so it's very, you can see that influence back in my work. But depending on what kind of story I'm drawing or what I want to do, it can be more traditional drawing, more simplistic, or very colorful, as the comic I'm working on right now.
Mm.
If I have to describe that one, it would be puking rainbows, glitter, and cotton candy. Like, it's super sweet.
That's a lot.
It is, but it's very fun. It's my personal. That's actually a funny thing. Is like I personally prefer to draw horror or thrillers. So
Yes, because I remember seeing that in when
yeah,
we first met. Yeah.
and then suddenly this project came to my path, and I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds really fun. So I would say like these kind of comics are more like a guilty pleasure. I do like to draw.
Mm.
Sorry, my nose is so so full. It's really hard to talk sometimes.
Uh,
Everyone is having the flu here in the Netherlands, so
that's okay. You're managing. You're getting through it.
okay, thank God. So wait, let me get that cotton candy here for you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so cotton candy pink, very girlish. Camille is the comic I'm currently working on. It's a
Mm.
series. I absolutely adore drawing this. It was quite an experience, I would say. Like I've learned a lot by doing these comics as well. Like you can see the art style from volume one to the latest volume, like really growing.
What's the time span on that?
2 years now. So I started last year, January. Almost three? Wait.
2023.
Yeah, wait. I issue one here. When did it was it published?
Yes. Fact
Yeah,
check this.
2023. Exactly.
Okay.
January 2023. So that was the first issue, and this one that just came out.
Okay.
And I must say, like cover wise, it's still quite similar, but if you look on the inside, it's volume one is so different.
Right. So even in that span, you've seen your work like change. Would you say dramatically a little bit?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is that because you've like practiced through this comic, or have you done like things outside of it to practice and change, or is it like a natural change?
I would say a natural change because, yeah, it changes along the line like each volume. So
Mm.
you don't notice it right away. But if I see the work next to each other, I'm like, oh my God, the old one is so ugly, put it away. But I think that's every creator has that. Like, as soon as something
Yeah.
is finished, you cannot look at it anymore. So,
Yeah, definitely. I feel that. I feel that. Even like with our own comics. So the one I showed you, that's literally the first. Yeah, literally the first comic we did as Maya Mada. And then, so I'm for anyone who doesn't know, I'm the writer, so I don't draw. We have a artist Penali, and their work is like you compare it, and it's you again. You just it's like that. But it's always interesting for me to see. But then I think to myself, like, oh, I've obviously changed as well in terms of how I write the story. So you've shown us like some of the artwork there. Do you also? I guess that's a different story. That's not because that's not your own story. Do you also write stories as well? How does that work for you, or do you stay with the art?
at the moment, I stay with the art and just specifically the inks because the coloring is done by actually my first intern that is now working as a full-time colorist for Camille and also doing her own
Ah,
art.
okay.
Roxanne. Wait, Roxanne Luker. Let's see, there. It's
Hmm.
in reversed.
Yeah, no, it comes shows up. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah, she's doing a wonderful job on the coloring. So for me, I prefer to work with people. I don't like coloring, so it's nice to have someone that
Ah,
likes colors and is good at it to do it. Same with the writing. I like writing, but I prefer to work with writers. So if they have the scenario and the story, I like to focus on just the art.
hmm. I get that. I get it. I know you've
It's
worked
fun.
with Christian Carnouche, who
Yeah.
has also been on this show and on our podcast as well. It's interesting you say you don't like coloring, but you prefer like the other stages. So because from me, so as someone who doesn't draw, I'm gonna say like from the outside, isn't it? I mean, I know it's not all the same, but what's the difference between like doing the line art, the inking, and the coloring to the point where you you like one over the other?
Mm, I think with pencils and ink, you're like creating the page, so the structure, everything. So you turn a blank page into the page, but then you still need the colors. I personally really like black and whites. I read a lot of manga, so I don't mind that it's in black and white. But for colors, if I want to see it in color, it needs to be good.
Mm.
And a good colorist can make it or break it. If you would give the same page black and white to different colorists, you get very different vibes from it.
Right.
So it's good to find someone that matches your vision and vibe you want to go for. I used to do all my coloring myself, and it just takes so much time. For me, it takes more time than actual inking because it's not something I like to do.
Mm.
While Roxanne, for example, she works so insanely fast and knows the colors like the palettes. Yeah, I envy her for that. So I'm glad she can do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, if I were to do the same thing as she does, then it would have taken me like three times as long to finish the
Wow.
pages.
Okay. All right. So you got a bit of a team going.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay. That makes sense. And when it comes to, like, let's say your own work, how do you go about finding like the right writers or just like creative team? Is that something again? So going back to how we talked about like website, social media. Is that, do you just then go on people's website, social media, or networking? How do you find people to work with?
For me, it's mainly networking actually. So if I know people, I know their work, and I can see opportunities or not where there's a possibility for collaboration or not. And of course, if they're interested as well.
Hmm.
So Christian, I got to meet at I think Amsterdam or Rotterdam Comic Con in 2019 as well, I think, or 18.
Okay.
Getting old. Sorry. Yeah, and just by talking to him and I reading his work, I notice he's like the kind of stories he likes to write is a lot of things that I enjoy reading
Hmm.
and the kind of stories that I like. So yeah, I asked him to collaborate on some projects, and he's amazing. Like also, if I have my own idea, like hey, I have this idea for a comic which needs to be dark or to this direction. Is this something you can work with? And he knows how to write it and to give it more depth. Does that make sense?
Like give the story more depth.
Yeah, story more depth, more
Okay.
structure. For me, it's just an idea, and putting it actually on paper with the dialogue. I cannot do that.
That's interesting. It's always interesting for me to see how people's like minds work and what they go towards. So, like when we do workshops, and it's often easier to see it in kids as well because they're very they're very honest that way. They just whatever they like, they just go and do, and you can see like those who are just want to draw all the time, or those who are thinking about like the characters and the stories, and then you can have a discussion about like the wider thing, or those who just literally just I just want to color this in and make this look pretty, and you see like how that then translates into adults. It's the same with like, or it's a similar thing with like inspiration. So I don't know, for you, you said you're into like anime, manga. Do you take any like inspiration from different types of work? Like where do you get your inspiration from?
My bookshelf. And yeah, like I noticed like some artists I come back to for inspiration is, for example, Junji Ito. If I do anything horror,
Right.
because he's like the godfather of horror
Yeah.
comics. His work is insane. I would say George Gymnast. He has drawn some of the Super Sons comics. I think currently he's actually I saw something. They have a collaboration with DC Comics. Or no, Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles and Naruto in
Wait, what?
manga. Yeah.
When was this? I need to know. When's
Well, I think that he's currently working on it. It's
ah,
wasn't I think on San Diego Comic Con they had like a preview
I missed
published.
this.
I really want to have it because it looks
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. That makes sense, actually.
It's a great collaboration. So yeah, his work is also very manga inspired, but he's working for the American comics, DC, Ninja Turtles, and Naruto right now. and his work is amazing. I take a lot of inspiration, like for paneling or inking,
Mm.
from his work as well. What else? I think for Camille, the current comic I'm drawing, I take a lot of inspiration from Witch. It's like one of my childhood comics.
Okay.
Do you know that?
I don't. I thought you were going to
Witch.
say Bewitched, but that's different.
No, I think I have a few comics here.
Ah, it doesn't ring a bell. Maybe I'm just missing.
It is quite old. Like when I was okay, not that old, I guess. It's 2008, it says here.
Okay,
So
all right.
these were like the
Ah,
um, magazines comics I read when I was, I think, around 12 years old.
oh, I've not seen them before.
Barbucci of Barbucci. I never know how to pronounce his name. Alejandro. I'm so bad
That's
at
a good
names.
pronunciation. Alejandro.
He has drawn Skydol. Let's see what more. Echo. Monster Allergy is also one of his comics. Great artist.
That's cool. What about in so that's comics? Do you get any inspiration from like are you one of those people that can watch things or uh like are you someone who can like watch like a show or animation and inspired for your own work?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I think most creators have that. When you watch a series or read something, you're like, "Oh, this is so good," or "I'm gonna remember this." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I do that as well. And in fact, I was just to so young person today, earlier today, and I said to him, I don't know if you've watched Arcane, but if you
No
haven't,
spoilers for the second season. I still need to
okay,
finish that.
I actually haven't started. So I rewatched season one. I don't usually do, in fact, I don't think I ever do this, but I rewatched the first season to prepare
That's
for the second one. And I said to him, like, go, because he hadn't seen it. So I said, go watch it. And if you don't feel inspired, then just stop. Just stop now because you'll never be inspired if you're not inspired watching that. So that's something I've definitely taken. And even as an example, like as someone who doesn't draw, but just like the way the story is told, that's something I'm
oh yeah.
always like looking for, and it's just making me think how I can tell better stories. So yeah, stuff like that. I just like love taking in. I wish I could take in more, and I'm gonna. In fact, I'm probably gonna start. If not after this live stream, then tomorrow.
I think for writers it's even harder to get like work or your work noticed because art is very visual, so people can see the amount of skill and how it
Yeah,
will
yeah,
fit. But for writing, it's you notice once you start reading. And I think like a comic can be drawn super great, but if this story writing or the script is crap, then
you can
it's
tell quick.
yeah,
Yeah.
you can tell.
Yeah, and I think Dating for Geeks says that the drawing is part of the storytelling. So, like the coloring, adding the special effects and the lighting that make the story pretty. And it is that kind of because we're visual, right? So we
Yeah.
see first. So when it comes to story, because what's interesting, I've found recently, I had this conversation that people often don't realize like I'm the writer of the stories. I think they just
Mhm.
assumed I've taken it from somewhere or something. So yes, it's hard to get that across. So with our current comic at the moment, it's difficult because it's super late. So we did a Kickstarter at the beginning of the year, and it's late. So I did an update. Been doing updates over the year, but it's been difficult because the writing has taken a longer time. It's hard to show. It's like
Oh
it's
yeah.
yeah, as like yeah, it's late, but there's nothing to show. It's just like my notepad and just scratching in the notepad. It's like how do you show progress when there's nothing there to show? But now we're at the artwork stage, so there's like more to show. So I did a recent update with some of the draft pages. We've got some finished pages as well. But yeah, that writing, like how do you get people to appreciate that the art of writing? I don't know.
Yeah, and I think like the art of like comics in general as well is it's there's so much like what you say, just the writing part takes already
Mm,
so much time. People don't see only see the surface,
yeah.
but not the amount of work that goes behind it. And it's something I always, for example, like we talked about interns and younger people. I keep explaining to them as well, like you see success stories online, or yeah, mainly online or from people
Mm,
you know, but the amount of work like that goes behind it is rarely shown. So also the struggles or like the art blocks you get. There's a lot of work that goes behind it to finish a project or product.
Mm. Yeah, art block. It, yeah, how do you get through that art block? Do you want to explain what it is and then how you get through it?
Yes, a lot of crying and keep drawing, or in your case, writing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But by creating, it's always at least for me, it is. I know some creators who see it as work and they can distance themselves from the work they're doing.
Mm,
For me, it's something very close to me. So I feel if my art is not good enough, I'm not good enough, or which is
mm,
absolutely not true, but that's
mm,
just what my brain makes of this. Sometimes I also wonder what people see behind the surface, like what is a professional comic artist, or what is being a professional? When do you start being a professional? It's something I still wonder. Like
huh.
I keep asking myself.
Good question. Yeah, because it's weird. I don't even always consider myself as a professional writer because in my mind is because it's all my write or most of my writing outside of it. Most of it is like for me, for my matter, for so it's all a lot of what I do is stuff that I see as having to do, like I have to do to do the business stuff. So yeah, I don't always see myself as a professional writer. That's quite funny actually. Just thinking about it. Yeah, where's that
Making money
line?
with it, but am I a professional? I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess like what I've heard, like as soon as someone pays you, you're a professional. But
Okay.
I do feel like you're learning with each project you're working on. So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to sit with that because in that case I'm technically a professional. People have paid me to do work and they bought a lot of books, but okay, I'm going to sit with that. We're almost out of time.
What?
It's kind
Time
of
for
yeah,
flash cards?
it has it these always do. So what I realize is you have been on before. However, there was a point where I started doing this quick fire round to end the interviews. And I don't think
Oh
you've
God.
have you done this before? Have we done
Yes.
this? Oh, we have. Okay, I thought so. I wasn't sure. All right, so then you're the second person I've already done this with, which means I need to do another set of questions. So basically, I end these live streams with a quick fire round, and it's all about storytelling as it relates to real life. So I find that stories are like real life, and we're all protagonists in our own story. So I've got these questions that I asked, but you've been here before, so I guess we've done this. So what I had to do is come up with another set of questions. So I'm going to give you this other set of questions. It goes beyond looking at stories in life and focuses on the world building and the character arcs because those are like a key part to any story. So to finish for my quick-ish fire round, how would you, as a character in your own story, describe the world that you're in? And you can go anywhere
Boy,
you want with that. Yeah, this is always very introspective part of the of the conversation. How would you describe the world you're in?
I have no idea. I'm gonna be honest. Uh, okay, can you give me an example?
Okay, would you describe it as is it a colorful world? Is it a positive world? Is it a challenging world? Is it a supportive world? Is it a surprising world?
Hmm, I would say challenging, but also supportive.
Okay,
Life keeps throwing things at you, and you have to be creative how you get through it.
I like that.
I feel like also the people you meet along the way can leave an interesting impact. So it's
Mm,
always nice to meet new people and see where they end up in life and how they become a part of your life.
yeah. Is there anything that surprised you about the world you're in?
I don't know.
No surprises.
You're asking
That's
difficult
fine. Yeah.
questions.
Oh yeah, no, I like this, and I like not preparing people because I like to watch people squirm and
Okay.
suffer. But
Yes.
all right, next question then is like everyone likes a good plot twist. So on your story, on your journey, what would you say has been a interesting plot twist, and how has it changed the direction that you go in?
Boy, plot twists.
Mm.
Yeah, I would say like if I take from last time we spoke, like did this until now, challenging would also be like very like what I said before, challenging and also supportive are very strong words for that. Because the plot twist I had like right, I think during COVID or right after COVID,
Mm,
everyone had like a tough time. It was a weird time, and it was a point I really started to doubt if I was on the right path. I was
mm,
very close on giving up art altogether. And I had very amazing people who supported me and got me through that whole
mm.
shebang. So I would say, does that count as a plot twist?
Yeah, I mean that counts. Like almost giving up and then saved
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. This might be the same answer to this question. What has there been? Actually, I'll do it this way because like conflict is a good part of most stories. Like some kind of conflict, whether it's internal conflict or external. What would you say has been like interesting conflict in your story, and what did you
So
learn from it?
I would say, yeah, the thing I mentioned before is there was more external conflict
Mm,
combined with internal conflict as well. What I learned from that is more to rely on people and ask for help, which I found very difficult
mm,
when I'm in a tight spot. And for like the past year, for example, I would say more internal conflicts because it's as an artist, at least for me, and I think a lot of artists can relate, you struggle a lot with yourself, like you're your
mm.
worst critic. For example, I just finished my sixth book for Camille, and with each issue, I have so much doubt if I can do this or if I have to start a new book again. I have
Yeah,
people around me that ask me like, "But you already finished six book. How can you still be insecure about this? How can you? You've done it so many times. You know, you've proven you can do this." And I'm like, "I know, and don't ask me how I did it,
yeah,
'cause I don't
yeah.
know." So that internal conflict is constantly there, and it's just
Right.
overcoming that personal struggle and keep going and learning how to how to deal with that is
Mm.
quite a learning curve.
Totally. Yeah, yeah. Just like I said, there's been a gap between the current one and the last one did during the pandemic, and it's like I did that one. Will I ever write a good story again? Have I forgotten how to write stories? So, yeah, I feel that. I feel that. All right. Last question then is is there any part of your story that you would rewrite, and if so, how would you rewrite it?
No, I don't think so. Because, like, of course, there are some things that I wish were different or had gone different. But also, if they would have gone different, it wouldn't have got me to where I am now.
Hmm.
So, no, I won't rewrite anything, I think. No.
Okay. It's the final edition. Cool. All right, that works. That works. And that is the end of our conversation. Renee, thank you very much for joining me again. You've been on a bunch because you've been on our podcast as well. So it's like this is what we do. We just like bring people back and just make them talk to us. So thank you for doing that.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. I'm sure we will talk again. For anyone watching, listening later, however you're consuming this, thank you for listening in. Oh, see, lights are gone. While she fixes the lights, I'll keep talking. So yeah, thank you for tuning in. So, like I said at the top, this is our monthly series where we talk to different comic creators about the stuff they do, about their work, their experiences, and yeah. So, oh, this is also the last one of 2024. That just occurred to me. This is it's going to be 2025, the next one. So we'll be back in January. But also we do other shows on Twitch. So we have a whole thing where we play games. We got a games live stream coming. We do our like live podcast from time to time. So yeah, you can follow us on Twitch to see all that. We also have our regular Story X Story podcast, which comes out every week, and we are closing in on the end of season 6. So we got one more, two more, no, technically four, two more regular episodes, and then we've got a couple special episodes we do at the end of the year, and then we go on a recording break, and then we are back for season 7 in February. So we've got some stuff planned for that. We will be talking about Arcane, so we've got an episode for that in February, because that's just a must do. So you can enjoy that. I'll put a link in the chat. You can check out the podcast there. And yeah, we do our own stories. We're working on one at the moment, which is Origins Against All Odds, a story, in fact, just as we've been talking about it, a story about the pursuit of creative careers and that challenge and thinking like you might have to give up, and all that stuff is in there as well. So we got that coming out very soon. One last shout out I've got to give to Programmers Group UK, who have kindly supported us with different bits of equipment, the microphone I'm talking to, the lighting that is being pretty consistent as we go, and also the chair that I'm sitting on. So they've given me this chair, myself and Tazzy. So they have supported us when we do our live streams, when we do our workshops with young people, when we do our events and things like that. And it all helps us to make things look and sound, hopefully, pretty decent. But it also allows us to introduce like the world of content creation and yeah, recording audio, video to young people that might be interested in that. So we appreciate their support. Very helpful for me, because I definitely need lighting, and the mic is very cool. Chair is very comfy. So appreciate their support and appreciate everyone listening, watching this. This has been another episode of Casual Conversations with Comic Creators, and we will see you again next time.